Good day everyone! So for today, we are going to talk about the concept-oriented approach. So by definition, what is COA or concept-oriented approach? So according to the definition, COA is a teaching strategy. It focuses on using relevant and engaging concepts to help students learn in the context of language acquisition instead of merely learning vocabulary or grammar in isolation. So here, students learn these language components through meaningful topics. So for example, if the concept being explored is sustainability, students will learn the language while discussing the environmental issues. So, ano nga ba tong goal ng ating COA, concept-oriented approach, di ba? So, the goal is to make learning more meaningful and practical by connecting it to real-world concept. So, this makes the learning process less about memorizing rules and more about understanding how to use the language to express our ideas and solving problems. So when students see this all practical application of what they are learning, they are more motivated to engage with the material, right? So let's move on. So COA has its principle. So number one to the principle is the relevance to learners. So why it is important? So it says COA focuses. So let's now tackle about the principles of the concept of oriented approach. So number one, we have the relevance to learners. So COA focuses on making learning content relevant to students' lives and to their interests. So they are making it the content of the learning for student interesting so they can enjoy it. This can mean tying language lessons to topic so students are passionate about it, like technology, culture, or current events. So, by aligning lessons with student personal experience, teachers can increase student engagement and make learning more enjoyable. Number two, sa principles, we have active learning. So, COA requires students to actively participate rather than passively receive information. So, this could involve group work, discussion, hands-on project, or interactive task where students use the language to communicate about a given concept. So, for example, in learning about the concept of globalization, student might have to debate or present different perspectives using the target language. Pangatlo, we have cognitive engagement. So, what is cognitive engagement? So, unlike traditional language, learning that might emphasize memorization, COA promotes deeper cognitive processing. So, for example, students are required to think critically about how language is used to convey a concept and how they can use it in real situation. So for example, a student might explore how a particular verb tense can change the meaning of sentence in a discussion about the time management. So again, we have the three principles: relevance to learners, active learning, and cognitive engagement. Okay, so let's move on. So, how do we apply nga ba yung language acquisition and learning? So, when it comes to contextual learning, instead of teaching grammar rules in isolation, COA teaches language and context. For instance, while exploring the concept of cultural diversity, students would learn vocabulary, grammar, and expressions related to this theme. This helps students to understand how the language is used in real-life situations, making the language learning more intuitive. So, second, when it comes to integration with other subjects, so again, we're talking about the application in learning, acquisition, and learning. So, we have the integration with other subjects. So, paano ba siya nangyayari? So, COA can blend language learning with other academic subjects, such as history or science. For example, a language teacher might use a history lesson about Asian civilizations to teach past tense grammar. So this approach helps students see the practical use of language in different contexts and subjects, making it easier to transfer language skills across areas of study. So, real-life scenarios. So, how do we apply again the language acquisition and learning when it comes naman sa real-life scenarios? So, lessons are designed to mirror real-world situations. So, for example, student may role play ordering food in a restaurant or simulating a job interview. So this helps students practice language skills they will actually use in real life. So make them more confident and fluent in real life situation. So of course, we have the benefits ng concept-oriented approach. So number one, we have the enhanced motivation. When learning is connected to meaningful concepts, students are more likely to engage. For example, if a student is passionate about environmental conservation, learning language through this topic will feel more relevant and exciting to them. So this boosts their intrinsic motivation, which is the key to sustain engagement in learning. So, second benefits would be improves retention. So, because students are learning through engaging and relevant content, they are more likely to remember what they've learned, diba? When they are doing it and applying the activities based on real-life situations. So the brain retains information better when it's connected to something meaningful. For instance, if students learn vocabulary related to global issues while discussing climate change, they are more likely to remember those terms because they were part of meaningful conversations. And lastly, we have the foster critical thinking. So COA encourages students to think critically about the content they are discussing. For example, if the lesson is about media bias, students not only learn the language related to media, but also analyze and question how media can influence the opinions. This combination of language learning and critical thinking helps students become more analytical in their communication. So I'm sorry, it's not the last. We still have support independent learning. So since COA emphasizes self-discovery and exploration, students often become more independent learners. They're encouraged to explore the topics on their own, using language as a tool for discovery. For example, a student researching the concept of digital literacy might read articles or watch videos in the target language, learning vocabulary and grammar naturally through exploration. So again, this is all under the benefits of concept-oriented approach. We have again, enhanced motivation, improves retention, foster critical thinking, support independent learning. So, now, I will give you some example of it in practice. So, for example, project-based learning. One practical application of COA is through project. A teacher might assign students to research and present a project on a social issue like sustainable cities. Students would learn and use the language needed to explain the issue, offer solution, and discuss their findings with peers. This method immerses students in language use while focuses on meaningful concepts to simulate real-life scenarios. So, for example, students could role-play as reporters discussing current events or as a doctor explaining a medical issues to a patient. So, this exercise gives students a chance to practice their language skills in a realistic and meaningful scenario. So, ano nga ba yung mga challenges and yung mga challenges dito sa concept-oriented approach, and ano ba yung mga solution for it? So, just as challenges, we have when it comes to students, it may be some student may find it difficult to immediately engage with larger concept, especially if they have limited prior knowledge or language skills. They may feel overwhelmed, or when asked to discuss complex issues in a language they're still learning. So the solution to this challenge is that teachers can introduce the concept gradually, starting with simpler topics that students can easily relate to. For example, before discussing globalization, the teacher might start with simpler discussion about travel or international brands, gradually building up to more complex ideas. So, this scaffolding approach helps students build confidence and language skills step by step. So again, I will provide again the challenges. So another challenges, for example, is language proficiency gaps may also be a concern, as not all students will be able to handle the same level of cognitive engagement or language complexity. So possible solution for this would be teachers can differentiate instruction by providing extra support for lower level learners, such as visual aids, simplified text, or extra practice with key vocabulary. So for higher level learners, more challenging tasks like writing essays or conducting research can be assigned. So again, yun yung mga possibles na challenges, no? Na makita natin pagdating sa concept-oriented approach. So, overall, COA transforms language into a meaningful, motivating, and cognitively engaging process. It shifts the focus from memorization to understanding and application, making the language learning more practical and enjoyable. By linking language to relevant concept and real-life situation, COA not only improves language skills, but also fosters critical thinking and independent learning. So, that's it for our discussion about COA, or what we call concept-oriented approach. I hope you learned something. This is Diana. Thank you for watching.